Hello everyone and welcome to Homestead for a Living. This is just a casual Saturday video that has little to do with homesteading or gardening. Just a topic that's been on my mind and probably at the forefront of a lot of other folks' minds. These days, those of us in the YouTube community, especially in the homesteading community here on YouTube, a lot of us kind of come from the preparedness or prepper side, where we started getting into prepping when we started seeing the cracks on the edges of civilization and realizing the fragility of our system. So we started getting into prepping and following content related to that. And then the logical conclusion leads to homesteading. When you realize like the true fragility and the slide we seem to be on towards chaos, it leads a lot of us to realize that having a few totes full of canned goods is not going to carry us through anything other than a short-term disaster. And so it leads us a lot of us to this homesteading lifestyle. But a lot of those prepper channels that I follow in recent days, in recent weeks, seem to have just drifted towards complete alarmism and what I would deem to be doomsday porn, with little actual content. And every day you see these gigantic thumbnails, and I say gigantic because they stick out above the others, because they're so well thought out. They know exactly what the algorithm is going to respond to and what people are going to respond to. They use bright colors just like fast food restaurants do. And they use the exact titles and the exact images that will inspire you to click, like, you know, the nuclear briefcase is in Putin's hands, or whatever that day's alarmist title is. And it turns out to be like 5 seconds of a press release, and the rest is just telling you don't trust your neighbors, be scared, get your food stocked up, and all this alarmism. Not that, obviously, this is not to say that prepping, setting aside food is not wise. I do that, and everybody should. And it's also not to say that following current events isn't wise. But these particular channels seem to really have when you look at the psychology and how well crafted these are and the way they speak and the scripts they read, it has a real Langley-esque vibe to it. And it seems like the intention is to inspire panic and distrust and fear and anxiety, not preparedness, because preparedness in the end is not boxes in a basement with a few canned goods or putting TP up to your rafters. You know, being ahead of the things you need, that is good. Prepping is good. But that's not preparedness for any kind of significant disaster. This is what preparedness is. Preparedness is the comfrey in this pot that's going to feed my chickens when there's no grain available. Or this greenhouse, which is going to produce the seedlings not only for my food, but that I'm going to trade to neighbors so they can start gardening, so they won't be hungry and coming after my food, and so also gives me trade and barter value. And it's those fruit trees and those pots that really need to be planted today. And it's the ducks that are inside that greenhouse that are going to provide my meat and my proteins, my fats, and more barter value as they'll endlessly reproduce. This 5-acre lot will endlessly and exponentially provide more and more abundance. Boxes of canned goods in my basement will not. But these alarmist channels don't seem to talk about this. They have no homesteading content. They might have a token amount here or there, or mention, you know, good to start a garden. But really, this is preparedness. If you're living in a city, in a situation where you have to bug out, the time to bug out is now. It was 2 years ago. It was long before that. I wish I had bugged out of the mainstream sooner, but really the time is yesterday or today or as soon as possible, because it's not that S might hit the fan in the future. It already did. It has for years. Like, if you look at what's in our food, and most food that we consume, it's carcinogens. It's things that, it's so many, I don't want to go down this nutrition rant, but the food we're putting into our bodies, and it's, for most people, the only food they can afford, is literally killing them and making them sick. More people die in this county probably of obesity-related problems than anything else, even overdoses. And then you look at crime, you look at the social disillusion and the disconnection and the lack of community. What's happening in American cities and cities everywhere as we've moved to urbanization is that it's already a terrible existence and far removed from nature and the way people are supposed to live. There's no reason to stay in a city that I can think of, other than having family that, because of a complex situation, you can't get them out. But other than that, there's just no reason not to come to the country. It's affordable for anybody. Last time I checked, there were still $500 RV lots for sale in Arkansas. You can move to an area, you can rent it in a rural area and get a job. Right now, they're still looking for people for a lot of jobs in rural areas. So there's no reason and very little excuse not to move out to a rural area and start becoming self-sufficient. It's the way we were supposed to live. So these channels that are propagating this endless series of just daily videos saying the world's going to end today, get your iodine pills and hide in the basement and don't trust your neighbors, they're either fools or they're clowns, one or the other. But probably a little bit of both, and their message does not seem to be good or constructive of late. So just a word to be consuming things that are edifying, garbage in, garbage out, or good things in, good things out. You know, the content we should be consuming is the content that teaches us how to be self-sufficient, not the content that makes us afraid, because you should be afraid. You should look around at society and see that bad things are occurring, or things that are going to be very tumultuous, and then you should take action and not be afraid anymore, especially if you're coming from this from a Christian perspective, because Christians don't have anything to be afraid of. Real Christianity, when practiced, dissolves all fear and anxiety. Christ removes fear. So if you're calling yourself a Christian and you're still afraid, then you have some work to do and some understanding to do about that. But if you really believe if you're acting in the context of my salvation is already secured, and that this life is temporal and something I'm just here to experience and partake in, there's nothing to fear, and there's only enjoyment to be had, even in the struggles and the suffering. So I'm not afraid of the nukes that will occur in Russia. I can't prepare as much as I'd like. I'd love to have a bunker, but I'm also not living in a city that probably has a target on it. I really highly doubt that this rural county, where the main industry is the main employer is a rehab center, and our main natural resources are, I guess, timber. I doubt that we're on a lot of nuclear lists, and if nuclear winter happens and some kind of Armageddon where I can't grow food at all, I'm not going to worry about something that I can't even prepare for. So there's nothing to fear, and there's nothing to worry about. There's just action to take, and the action itself is beautiful and enjoyable. It's living in nature, it's being self-sufficient, and it's starting to be sovereign in your income and in your community and in how you go about your life. Everything about that is good and exciting, and we should be moving towards that, not cowering in fear watching doomsday porn videos. So that's just my preachy little thought on all of these very alarmist videos I've been seeing lately. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. In the meantime, y'all stay safe, be well, and happy homesteading.